Did you guys see that Dr. Fauci has COVID?
Yes. Octuple-vaxxed and double-masked and yeah.
Funniest story of all time.
And he has like the rubber band around his balls and like all of that. He just everything.
What a bitch.
Here we go.
Dr. Anthony Fauci has now tested positive for COVID-19.
Hominoid says, "Shut up, I'm crying, bye." Damn, Hominoid, dude.
Like a microaggression, huh?
If you're crying, don't leave YouTube. Nobody wants you to leave YouTube, Hominoid. We all love you.
Maybe he's moving to the sticks and he doesn't have internet.
Could be.
Get Starlink, buddy.
Starlink,
Hominoid. Get Starlink.
It's great. Trust me.
All right, here we go.
For real?
Yeah, I love it. It's super fast.
Nice. You love something that he tested positive on a rapid antigen test. Dr. Fauci is fully vaccinated and has been boosted twice.
Jesus, he said 4 vaccines.
How many booster seats does he need? 2?
How many?
Jesus.
All of
He had
them.
4? He had 4 boosters?
No. Two vaccines, 2 boosters.
2 booster seats.
2 booster seats, and he's still only
the steering
5'1".
No, wait, no, be like for real. How many injections? 4, 5? Like
4.
4? Oh my god. These people.
Well, that's what they did in Israel, you know?
Missy. John Archer loved this.
I know. Where's he been?
He's 81 years old and reported to have...
He's 81?
I'm against patriarchy and old white people, except I listen to all these old white people.
Yeah, dude, isn't that crazy? Like, all the people that are like, the old whites, the old whites, the old whites, and then they're like, Dr. Fauci is God.
If you have a question that you might be brainwashed, this is proof right here.
This guy's a war criminal, in essence. Like, during these emergency powers that all these governors took, the things that happened to these people... I mean, there's going to be a really great case for war crimes after his death. Well, unfortunately, they're going to wait until he dies to do it.
Well,
that's what they always do.
It's going to happen to him. He'll be fine.
I don't know about war crimes, but I do know that, you know, who was the one that pushed for the lockdowns? Like, who was the one who pushed for the lockdowns? Fauci.
Who was the one that pushed for the AZT drugs that killed more gay people than freaking AIDS did?
I think that shit was like UN.
Allegedly.
That was like UN top down throughout these organizations that influenced our government. I think through our institutions.
Well, even just talking just strictly COVID, who was the one that was backing and pushing and advising all the lockdowns? I mean, without Dr. Fauci, the lockdowns would most likely not have been very effective or widespread. And
they made it into a religious symbol.
Yeah, he was basically the Pope of COVID.
I just say that Teodros, I don't know his exact name, but Teodros over there, I think he's the head of the UN. He's the head of something right now in response to this COVID crisis, but he's basically the Eastern Hemisphere czar of this pandemic, and Fauci is the Western. They've been working hand in hand.
Pope John Fauci the First.
Maybe they're pushing his age and this COVID thing, so if he dies suddenly, there's no question. Saying.
Well, see, here's the thing that I was.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it is. But here's the thing I was about to say. So, like, okay, we look at Joseph Stalin and Mao as, like, look, these are people that were responsible for Stalin. It was between 60 and 100 million deaths. And Mao, it was,
well over 100
to 150 million deaths.
Nazi is the bad word, not communist. Just pointing that out real quick.
Sorry, what?
Nazi is the bad word, not communist. You call someone a Nazi, you don't call them a communist. Yeah.
But, okay, well, let's throw Hitler in there, too. 6 million people. Well, the Holocaust was closer to 10.
It's the same.
But either way, okay, it doesn't matter. But the point is, so Fauci was the one that was the catalyst for these lockdowns. And they're going to result, by the time all is said and done, in the calculated figure is well over 200 million people starving to death. I mean, this guy is pure evil.
Look what his name means. Fauci, his last name, it's Sicilian for sickle. It's an occupational surname that means makers of sickles. Like, he's cutting down society, literally.
Right.
But at the same time, you got to look at, that Bill Gates was trending today too, right? Like,
I saw that, but I didn't see why.
Part of it was due to the Internet Explorer news, but another angle of this is that he's the common connection between Fauci and Teodros in the Eastern Hemisphere. He's the one pushing this, and the whole vaccine to control human population thing was like a legitimate thread on Twitter today. You gotta watch this shit in real time. I have a lot of free time in my job right now, and certain things change like in trending really quickly on Twitter right now. That's what I've noticed, and that shit was definitely on there. People might have missed it, might have got downvoted after a certain point, but there's a lot of weird things going on with Twitter and the leaking of information. Like it seems like there's like a battle going on in terms of like the releasing of this kind of information.
Well, Marauder, I think the most important thing here is there's so many people that we know personally and otherwise that we followed at some point that they all got kicked off of things like YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and all because they said they were making false theories about where this stuff came from. And now it turns out everything they were saying was right, but they've not been
they're not. Go for it, Jack.
So two things. So first of all, I just want to point out for those that hadn't seen, Fauci and his people have been working on monkeypox for at least 3 years. So just so that's out there. But the other thing I just want to point out, Smooth put in the chat, lockdowns are bad in principle if you ask me, but Australia for sure saved lives. So the pro-lockdown people do have a point, the price of freedom. Well, here's the thing, Smooth. Australia is not the exporter of food that we are.
Well, that suggests you look up Christmas Island and check that out.
Well, either way, I mean, if we're talking about net deaths, if that's the only thing we're talking about is net deaths, maybe a lockdown that worked for Australia wouldn't have resulted in as many net deaths, but with the U.S., because of our exports, then our lockdowns, the lockdowns in the West, are going to result in hundreds of millions of deaths because people in third world countries are going to starve to death. Because we're going to get hit with they already are, and we're getting
on Sri Lanka.
Yes, and we're getting hit with a food shortage right now. It's about to worsen, and our resources are going to stay before they get exported. So
and I don't know if you guys saw. I mean, part of the issue that we're dealing with is a lack of energy, which is something that Biden has been real big on. And I don't know if you guys saw that letter that he sent to the heads of the big major oil corporations, and the one they sent back, they nuked him from low Earth orbit. They literally dropped a bomb on him.
You want to dig into that because I just read like the first couple of sentences of it. I didn't have a chance to get through the whole thing.
You want me to go into it?
Yeah,
what they said. Okay, hold on a second. Let me bring it up real quick. Here we go. So basically, he said, I'm gonna just paraphrase what he said to them real quick because it doesn't really matter. He didn't write it. Basically, he said we're gonna take actions. We're gonna make you produce more oil. Blah blah blah. Right? The American Petroleum Institute came back and gave 10 points and said, well, here's what we need. And I'm not gonna read deeply into it. I'll just kind of read the headlines. Lift development restrictions on federal lands and waters. So their thing was issue a 5-year program for the Outer Continental Shelf that we can go in and actually get lease sales at equitable terms. Because at the moment, that's not they can't do that. 2, designate critical energy infrastructure projects. And what they asked for basically was less government regulation. 3, fix the NEPA, which is the National Environmental Policy Act permitting process, which takes years, many years, like 3 to 5 years. And they said, let's just limit it to 2. So we can reduce the bureaucratic burdens placed on the projects, okay? 4, accelerate liquid natural gas exports and approve pending LNG application because they're not. So that's an issue. Unlock investment and access to capital, which is something that they have been locking down for years. So they said that the Securities and Exchange Commission should reconsider its overly burdensome and ineffective climate disclosure proposal, and your administration should ensure open capital markets where access is based upon an individual company. Number 6, dismantle supply chain bottlenecks. So rescind the steel tariffs that they have that are going on because they need steel to build out these rigs and everything, the whole thing. It's all, anyway, moving on. Number 7. Advance lower carbon energy tax provisions. I don't know much about that in particular, so I'll skip that because I don't really know a lot about it.
Right.
Number 8, protect competition in the use of refining technologies. So they said your administration should ensure that future federal agency rulemakings continue to allow U.S. refineries to use existing critical process technologies to produce the fuels needed for global energy markets. I don't know much about that one either, so take it as you may. Number 9, end permitting obstruction on natural gas projects, which they have been doing for years, which is causing a huge shortage of natural gas. And something that I'm feeling here because they just raised our energy prices by 89%. That's how much my electricity bill went up every month, 89%. And then number 10 was advance the energy workforce of the future, whatever the hell that means. But yeah, I mean, they basically came in and said, it's your policies. Like, you need to stop, because to kind of condense all of this into one small paragraph, what we have done, and by we, I mean this administration, is they have made it they've made it very hard for people to invest in the energy sector. Because most of the energy sector at this point is fossil fuels. Right. And they want to get rid of fossil fuels. And they keep moving in that direction, right? We just stopped that pipeline coming down out of Canada, a bunch of other things. We don't let these companies drill in all these different places that have oil. And so people are like, well, I'm not going to invest in it because the government's going to shut it down. Or they'll say yes, and then a year later shut it down, right? And then you lose all your money. So they're basically saying, this is your issue. Let us drill, and we'll drill, and you'll have your oil. Don't make it so hard. But I thought that was a pretty damn good rebuke of
Eddie County's ready to go on this. Like, the most profitable county in Mexico. They're like, let us drill.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's what it takes. And bringing it full circle back to Dr. Fauci, I mean, he is the excuse that they use. They're like, well, Dr. Fauci is still talking about risks of COVID and all this stuff. And they're like, well, the pandemic is responsible. It's like, no, your policies are responsible.
Pretty much. Yep.
Mild symptoms. He's isolated and working from home for the time being.
Aw, he's still alive. I mean, he should not die. We should love Dr. Fauci and worship him.
And by working from home, do they mean like drafting more proposals to lock us down again? Is that what they're talking about?
No, he's working on monkeypox.
Yeah, to lock us down again, right?
Hey, I heard this thing. So I was at a client's house yesterday, and I was listening to the TV in the background. And did you know that they're going to rename monkeypox here shortly to something that's, quote, not stigmatizing, because apparently monkeypox is stigmatizing?
Is it racist?
I heard that. Yeah.
Dave Chappelle is racist again. Hashtag Dave Chappelle is racist again.
Only racist people think things like that, though.
Yeah, honestly. No, I think they called it exclusionary. I don't think it was a race thing. I think that they were talking about gay people.
No, but they've been saying race.
Oh,
like this is this has been a narrative that it's racist to call it a monkey.
Exactly.
That's weird. All right.
Yeah, it's one of the, which is funny because like I think that whenever I say monkeypox, in my head I'm not thinking, oh, this is like of one certain race, right? That doesn't really enter my thought process, and I'm not sure that I know anybody that thinks that.
You know what my biggest question is? Like, is it an ape or a monkey? Did it come from an orangutan or like a New World monkey? Because maybe it's misnamed.
Maybe it's from a chimp.
Exactly. Now make it apepox.
Apepox. I like that, but that's
what I'm talking about.
I have no idea.
That's what I'm talking about. It's really apepox.
Who knows? All right, Howard.
Let's finish up this video real quick, and then we can do chat.
The video's done.
The video's done.
I was just about to say.